Please remember to like, subscribe and comment, as we love to hear back from our viewers. Also, if you enjoy our videos, please consider becoming a patron of our show through Patreon and or GoFundMe. Links are listed below the video in the description. From the deepest, darkest recesses of Dangerous Nerds headquarters, Keith Moncrief and Gerry Kissell.
Hey guys, it's Gary
and Keith
with Pop Culture Minefield, and we're here to talk about nerd stuff. Guys, we're geeks, nerds.
And what else are we going to talk about?
We're dweebs. Hey! So, first thing off the bat, we want to talk about the birthdays. And of course, today is a special birthday for actor John Delancey, who played a little character known as Q in the Star Trek series. And we, of course, love this guy. He's amazing.
Yeah.
Without him, and we talked about it before, I don't think Star Trek would have taken off. That pilot,
Encounter at Farpoint.
Encounter at Farpoint was not a very good story, not a very good show, until
Q shows up
and does the whole judgment thing. And the interesting thing we talked about before is that that was the part contributed by Gene. The original script was all about Farpoint and those two jellyfish aliens. But Gene stepped in and wrote his part of it, turning it into a 2-part episode. And that sold me. I was sold because of Q, because Q was the coolest darn character. When he shows up on the bridge like a Marine, I about lost myself going, oh my God. Who is this guy? World War II Marine comes... You know, just that was freaking cool. So happy birthday to John Delancey. We have a friend of mine, Mike Adkins, who's a comic book professional. If you work in comic book industry or you read comic books, you have seen the fonts that he creates. Really good, really good. And he comments on my page a lot.
Wow.
I like Mike. Mike and I are friends. TV horror host Dick Dizell. I love you, man. He was Captain 20 and Count Gordeval in my childhood, and along with guys like Arch Campbell, really worked with the local independent filmmakers in Virginia, Maryland, that whole area where I grew up. And happy birthday, Dick. And then, of course, my other friends, and you know him too, Star Wars artist Lee Cozy. Happy birthday, Lee. I'll make sure to tag these guys when I post it on Facebook.
Cool.
So, anyway, we're going to be talking today. First news is, I'm going to let you break the news.
To celebrate the 40th anniversary of Alien, there will be 6 short films that will be released. These are films directed by different groups, different directors, different writers, all basically expressing their love of Alien in their own individual short film features.
And this is absolutely related to Brandywine and 20th Century Fox. This is not fan films. This is the real deal. So I'm excited, and I saw that Stan Winston Studios is involved with this.
Ah!
So
that's a dream come true. To be a filmmaker and to get the opportunity to not only make a film that will be an official Alien film, but you get to work with Stan Winston Studios.
I mean, we lost Stan a few years back to cancer, but his studio keeps going, and he's got amazing artists, man. They are some of the best I've ever seen. You know, I don't want to say they put Rick Baker's studio to shame, but they really put Rick Baker's studio to shame. Because Rick Baker, the best thing Rick Baker, and someone's going to send me hate mail for saying this, is Rick Baker. The best thing Rick Baker ever had working for him became Rob Bottin.
I love you, Rick. Great.
So, but I guess we'll get into the next thing, which of course is Captain Marvel. And it's rising to now the second best weekend this last weekend, where they got over 70 million, right around 70 million for the weekend. And
which catapults them, I think, to about 594
total, and
total.
which is only still around 200 for the U.S.
Yeah,
but
that's about
globally,
215.
yeah, globally, and this is odd. This is odd, and this is part of the controversy surrounding this. This is the first time where they're really focusing on mentioning the overseas money coming in. Mm-hmm. They usually don't do it. They always focus on the U.S. But they're not doing it this time because it didn't do as well in the U.S. as they had expected.
Yeah.
But this leads to the other controversy, which is the cutting off of fans from, or is that, if it's a fan who says something negative, they call him a troll, which is funny because on the other side of the fence were those guys who are negative about Captain Marvel. They refer to the people who hate them as trolls. Mm-hmm. So basically, if you hate somebody, you're a troll to somebody. So, but in the end, the fact is they've been fudging the stuff over it at Rotten Tomatoes. They got busted doing it. The guy who runs Rotten Tomatoes used to be the head of the marketing department for Disney. And so you don't have a job like that and don't still have open back doors to Disney. It's just that simple. And so we're finding out that, the whole thing with the pulling down of voting and all that for fans or audiences is all being done specifically for Captain Marvel. And they tried to lie and say that they were planning on doing it, but no, they got busted. They got caught with their pants down, and so what? It's like, it is what it is. And it's the same thing with, did Disney inflate their box office by buying tickets? Obviously, yes. We've got photographic proof all over the world of these theaters that are empty when they were supposedly sold out. Mm-hmm. And it's just, I expected it. I actually expected it before it happened, that they were going to do that because they had a media problem. And the problem was you've got actors out there that are supposed to be stumping for your movie. They're supposed to be doing the press junkets. And instead, they're talking about their personal politics. And you can't do that. And I've heard Sam Jackson, who I love Sam Jackson. I love his movies. But when he says, I don't care if people of a political persuasion aren't my fan anymore. And it's like, well, what you're leaving out of this conversation is the movie you're supposed to be stumping for right now. You're not supposed to be worrying about what you're thinking. You're supposed to be worrying about focusing on selling that movie to fans. And Disney had less than 10 days when all that stuff went down before the movie came out. And they did the smart thing. This is a marketing plan to go out there and buy those tickets. They did it with the NFL. They did it with baseball. It's done all the time. It's an actual common practice to buy out tickets. And the thing is, though, it's no big loss to Disney because you think, that's a lot of tickets. That's got to be a lot of money. They get 80% of it back. 80% of that money they spent, they get back. Because they're the only studio. They're the ones who are releasing the film. So all that money comes back to them. They lose only 20% for the first 2 weeks. At least 2 weeks. It could be more than 2 weeks that they get 80% or more. So it's pure marketing. And it's genius. That way they did not have to pick up that hot potato and deal with it.
Genius. But then again, that's the reason why they're running that and we're running this.
Yeah, we're just two schmucks in Virginia. We run a film Facebook page and we're buddies and we go to Visioncon and other conventions together. And so with that, well, I don't know. We pretty much dealt with that. I don't think there's anything more to add to that. I love Sam Jackson. I think Brie Larson was, because if you haven't read my review, I thought the movie was adequate. I thought it was good. It was not great. The middle of that film is one of the most boring things. I stayed awake.
Yeah.
Some of my friends did not. I stayed awake for the whole film. I think the only thing that made me mad with that film was, I don't want to spoil anything, but how Sam Jackson got that patch. That made me mad. I'm not going to say what it was, but I didn't like that.
I've made my feelings on the movie known. I had a good time watching it, but I think my review closely matches what writer and online personality Mark Bernardin had to say. His review is pretty much my review, which is that...
And Red Letter Media said pretty much what I said.
Yeah. So, I think the story was good, not great. I think from a writing perspective, I think they kind of dropped the ball a bit with her relationship with Jude Law's character. It would have made more sense if she had fought him rather than just going for the joke. I think that one of the things that I agree with Mark Bernardin about was the fact that, it probably would have made more sense for her character and for what she was attempting to do when she finally comes into her own. It would have made more sense to have both her and her best friend not even be allowed to fly jets. But instead, if they'd been relegated to helicopters, so that when they fly into space, just like what happened with Will Smith in ID4, it meant a lot more to his character when he was able to do that.
I agree with you. That would have been a lot better plot device to use.
Yeah.
There was a lot of problems within the film, but in the end, I still enjoyed it. I thought the scenes between Brie Larson and Sam Jackson were just some of the most fun in Marvel I'd seen in a while. I put it right up there with some of the banter between Captain America and Iron Man.
Yeah. It was just very well done, but again, not perfect.
And the de-aging, that's the best I've ever seen.
Wow, that was... again, I've seen a lot of Samuel L. Jackson's films over the years, so literally, we've seen Sam Jackson age, so to see him in this movie was like, wow.
And it looked like he did back when he did Patriot Games with Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
It was wild to see him young again. It was like, holy smokes, they really did a good job there.
Maybe I should get some of that technology.
There you go. Well, with that, it's Keith and Gary.
For Pop Culture Minefield.
And our minds are blown. And we will see y'all again. Y'all come back now.
Y'all come back now, you hear?